All right, I got a few questions that were sent to me, and we'll look at those. And they were all over the place. I thought they were in my folder, but they're all over the place. So I'll just look at them and we'll go over them. Then we'll look at where we are as far as the outline. I had a person email me yesterday and tell me that they're sick and they're not going to be able to come to class. And I asked, I said, well, what about Skype? And you know what they replied? What's that? I didn't reply. How can you be in my class and not know what Skype is? Where do these people live? Under a rock? Anyway, Math 109, this is 2.322 slash, I'm sorry, 57 slash 22. 57 slash 22.
What is it? 2.3.
2.1.
Say again?
I only got the homework till 2.1 done.
Okay, well, we'll look at this and then we'll go from there. We'll do a couple of these questions. If I see them staying in 2.3, we'll go back to the outline. Sarah Meehan blends coffee for Taste Delight. She needs to prepare 120 pounds of blended coffee. Okay, I think I know. This is, okay, we're going to go over. Okay, this is solving systems of equations. So somebody look up the outline for me. I don't have, yeah, I do. I have them out. We're going to need to go over solving systems of equations because that's what that's going over and we haven't covered that yet. Give me a second to get my outline. There it is. Okay, yes, systems of equations, fitting lines to data points. So let's look at, let's go to 2.1 and 2.2 and let's look and see what we got. I don't want to get the cart before the horse, and I don't want to go over homework problems that we haven't covered yet. So give me a second and let me pull up the 2.1 and we'll go from there.
Okay.
I think we went over 2.1 last time, did we not? Don't know. That's all right. I'll look it up. It's no big deal. Let's see. 109. Where are y'all? I'll just pick Pendleton campus. And look at resources.
Priority 1 message coming in on secure channel.
PowerPoint. 2.1. 2.1. And pull that up. Let me look at that right quick. Algebraic graphic solutions. I think we've covered that. Okay, this is where, yeah, we just had answered a couple of these questions on the homework last time, if y'all remember. Y'all remember going over a couple of these?
Oh, yeah.
These are complex rationals where you have to multiply by the common denominator. Y'all remember doing that? Yes. Yes. No, I don't remember that here. Okay. All right. Appreciate y'all's interaction. Always good to make class go faster by responding to the teacher. So, from current slide. There we go. So, if we needed to solve this, this is a complex rational. Write that down because it's a complex rational equation. A complex rational equation is basically an equation with fractions. Right? And it's usually one to make you what? Quit. Okay? So, the first thing you're going to do with a complex rational equation is multiply through or multiply both sides by the common what? Denominator. Multiply both sides by the common denominator. In this case, if we want to know the common denominator of 3 and 4, and we have no idea, we go back to basics, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, and 13. And we want to get 1s on the bottom, so 3 will go there, 1, that comes down, 2, that comes down, 2, and 2, that comes down, and 1. So we got that. There's your common denominator, which is 3 times 4, which is 12. So you multiply both sides by 12. And the reason I go over that is because sometimes people don't know how to find the common denominator. They just multiply the bottoms together, and that's not the way you do it. So multiply both sides by 12. And when we do that, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that's going to be a 3 times 3x 2 equals, what's 12 divided by 3? 4x plus 12. What's the most common mistake made on this problem? On that step that I just did. What's the most common mistake? Anybody want to take a guess? They don't multiply the 1 by 12. That's the most common mistake. So, in other words, they say 3 times 3x minus 2 is equal to 4x plus 1. That's the most common mistake. And 9x minus 6 is equal to 4x plus 12. Which one's the smallest bucket, 9x or 4x? So you're going to move the smallest bucket because it's easier. So take it across the river and it becomes 4x. That leaves you with 5x minus 6 is equal to 12. Subtract, add 12 on both sides, or take it across the river. Take it across the river and it becomes positive 6. And you get 5x is equal to 18. And your answer is 18/5. And that's your answer. A lot of people always ask me, Hubert, why don't you change it into a mixed number? A mixed number is only used for units of measure. Okay? It surprises me how a lot of college students don't even know that. Units of measure is the only purpose for mixed number, because you don't walk into Walmart and ask for 18/5 feet of rope. Okay? You ask for what? 3.5 feet of rope, or 3 3/5 feet of rope, or whatever it comes out to be. You don't ask for 18/5 of rope. That's why you don't see any wrenches in a tool kit. Oh, that's 18/5. Okay? So, unit of measurements are only needed when, mixed numbers are only needed when you're asking a practical application question, meaning that you have to give some kind of account at the end. This is not a practical application. It's not a word problem, so therefore you just leave it as 18/5. Okay? And as you can see, that's what they did, and they get 18/5. All right, do that one. Now, before I would do this one, what would you do first? You would condense that 1 over 2 times y over 2. Nobody writes an equation like that. I can't stand when they do stuff like this. And they do it in the homework too. They make a problem stupid. If there's any way to make a problem stupid, that's it. Break up y over 4 and break it up into 1 over 2 times y over 2. Just a conspiracy is what it is. Your fault. No sneezing in class. Settle down, Pendleton. So nobody went and saw any movies this weekend, huh?
Nope.
Y'all don't get out much, do you?
Last time I went and saw a movie was Mission
Oh,
Impossible.
wait, no, I did go to the movies.
You
Oh, somebody remembered that they went to the movie. All right, way to go.
It was Friday night. It's so far away.
What you? Oh yeah, exactly. It's only 3 days. What? Drunkard. Anyway, what movie did you see?
Unbroken. The Path to Redemption is the second one.
About that dude in the camp.
Yeah. It's good.
Oh my gosh.
I cried.
Oh my gosh, I want to see that. I know you don't know.
He was like, yeah,
Yeah. He's tortured by the Japanese.
Yep.
Then he like it's
Oh, that's so sweet.
it was and he gets married.
I'll have to look that one up.
First, thanks for telling me everything.
All right, this is y over 5 minus y over what? 4 equals 7 over 20.
Then,
So
Now here the common denominator is 20. Okay, not because I multiplied 5 times 4. It's because 5 is prime, and I know that 2 and 2 times 2 will go into 4, and 2 times 2 times 5 is 20. So I just break it up into prime factorization in my head, and then multiply it out, and it comes out to be 20. So I'm going to multiply through by 20 over 1. Now, for those of you, and I'm talking to the ones that didn't create the space shuttle, when I do this, I do it on both sides. I usually put a baby step in here. 20 over 1, 20 over 1, 20 over 1. And then I put my terms back in. Y over 5 minus y over 4 equals 7 over 20. And then you can see where the cancelization actually takes place. I usually don't do that in a college algebra course. I usually do it in a 101 or 102. But sometimes I throw it in just in case there's a person that hadn't had, 101 or 102 in a while. So what happens is the 20 will cancel with 5 and leave you with 4y. 20 will cancel with 4 and leave what? 5y. And that's equal to 7. Of course, you can't avoid the negative here. Negative y is equal to 7 divided by negative 1. Y is equal to negative 7. Okay? Again, complex rational expression or complex rational equation, you multiply through by the common denominator. What if you have let's see, y is equal. Solve for x if y is equal to 2.704. Looks like they want you to set them equal to each other, it looks like. But what are these? These are not fractions, these are what? Decimals. Calculator or multiply through by 1,000? Why would I multiply through by 1,000? To make them all what numbers? Whole numbers. So, if y is equal to this, Billy, if y is equal to that, and y is equal to that, basically you have two lines. What kind of lines are they? Well, y is equal to x to the first power, you have two straight lines. Y is equal to 2.7404, that's y is equal to a number, so it's parallel to what axis? X-axis, yes, that's right. So you have a number, you have a line at negative 2, and that's 1.3, that's 5 over what? 5 over 1.3 is 4 over 3, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Positive slope, so that means it's going like that. And then you got y is equal to 2.7, 1, 2, something going across like this. What do those 2 points do? I mean, what do those 2 lines do? They intersect. Now write that down, because this is what solving systems of equations do, and we're going to see that in the next coming chapter, or the next coming unit. But this is called intersection. And the intersection basically is an x and a y that will be true in what? Both what? Both equations. All right? So the intersection point, which will be x and y, will be true in both equations. Of course, you can't plug anything into the first equation because it doesn't have an x. So, but the second equation you can, and it'll be true. So what do? You set them equal to each other. Now this is true in calculus because you're going to have the area between two what? Two curves. Write this down and highlight it. Anytime you want to find intersection points, you set the 2 equations equal to what? Each other. Write that down and highlight it because you're going to need that in 130. You're going to be finding area under a curve, and you're going to be doing the antiderivative in the first step, and finding the antiderivative or the area under the curve is to find the intersection points between the 2 lines or 2 curves. Dang old John Nash, dang old drawing in the first quadrant, dang old curves, dang old vector fields. That's what you're doing. You're finding the intersection points. So, John Nash, some of y'all have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'm going to erase this, and I want you to set them 2 equal to each other and solve for x. Set them equal to each other and solve for x. 2.704 is equal to 1.384x minus 2.14. If you want to use your calculator, use it. If you want to multiply through by 1,000 and make it into whole numbers, you can do that. I don't care. So I'm going to add 2.14 on both sides because my x is positive. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. 2.14, really? $2.140, 1.384x is equal to 4.844. Somebody check me. Yes, sir. 4, and divide by 1.384. It's the Russian. So I told you that sub had something to do with the Russians. Divide by 1.384, and x is equal to, somebody give me that number. 3.5. Has everybody got 3.5? So x is equal to 3.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3.5. And y is equal to what? So that's your intersection point. So your intersection point is 3.5 and 2.704. Now I want you to get your calculator out, and I want you to graph these 2 lines, and then I want you to hit second trace, and I want you to find the intersection point. And make sure that it's correct. Do that. And hopefully all of you should be able to use your calculator and find the intersection point, because you are, in fact, in a sister course of college algebra, so you should be able to do that. Do that right quick. I will go to the handy-dandy calculator while y'all are working, and I will pull it up and see what we come up with. pull up the handy dandy calculator. Pull up the problem and the calculator. There we go. And I'm going to hit y is equal. No coughing in class. Y is equal to 2.704. And then I'm going to make the second line a little bit darker. And that's 1.384x, 1.384x minus 212, or 2.14. And hit graph. And there's my lines. And that's not right. Did? I suck. No, I didn't do that. The Russians did it. I'm not accountable for my mistakes. No, you do not. You always put it off on somebody else. If something don't go your way, you blame somebody else. Here you go. All right, now I want to find that intersection point. So I hit second, trace, which is calculate, go down to intersect, and I just hit enter because it's asking, do you want to find the intersection of this line and the other line? You say yes. So yes, yes, and then put a guess where you think it is. Why do you have to put a guess? That just slows down the process. I mean, it increases the process because it doesn't have to start from the left-hand side of the graph and find the intersection point. Instead, when you give it a guess, it doesn't start at the left side. It starts right there where that X is. So it just kind of speeds up the process. And hit enter. 3.5 and 2.704. It's a miracle. And that's the two ways that you can find the intersection point of two lines. Get used to doing this because you're going to do it in antiderivatives. Write it down, highlight it, put a tab on the outside of your notebook paper so when you take this notebook into 130, you know how to do it, okay? And some of y'all created the whole process. Some of y'all don't know how to do it. That's why I showed you both the calculator as well as the algebra. Capiche?
Bless you.
Thank you.
No sneezing in class either. Sneeze in the hallway. And divide both sides by, let me get, present. I made her mad. See, she's leaving. I'll tell you what, just make people leave. There we go. Pendleton won't talk to me. I'm just a terrible teacher. They hate me. It is hard for some people to pay off credit card debt in a reasonable period of time because it's a scam. The interest paid on $10,000 debt over 3 years is approximated by y is equal to blah, 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 when the interest rate is X percent. What is the interest rate if the interest is 1637.6? What is the interest rate? That means that they're giving us what? The interest paid on $10,000 is approximated by y is equal to blah, 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 where X is the percent. What is the interest rate? What is the percent if the interest is what? 1630. So what am I going to do with that 1630? Put it in place for y. Yes. So do that. Anytime you want to find the x-intercept, you plug in something for y. Anytime you want to find x, you plug in whatever for y. And they're giving you y right there, so solve it. Or you can say y is equal to 1637.6 in your calculator, and you can find out where they intersect, and that would be the answer also. So she forgive me, came back. $1,753.887. Somebody check me.
Yes, sir.
Divide by 175.393. And somebody give me, oops, that's not right. Somebody give me the answer when you divide 1753 divided by 175. What do you get? 9.99%. They probably want 10%, but I guess 9.99 is close enough for government work. Now, when you pull up your handy-dandy calculator, you should get the same thing. Now, why don't you need the y? Well, the y is right here. Y is equal to that right there. So it hits y is equal to 1637 at 10. Both of those questions are good questions for tests. In a period of time, a man is very successful speculating on an internet stock, with its value growing to $100,000. However, the stock drops rapidly until its value has been reduced by 40%. What percent increase will have to occur before the latest value returns to 100,000? Well, you got a drop, so that means you're going to have a minus. Okay? And that's where the minus comes in right there. 0.4 of 100,000. So this is like the Walmart equation. All right? X plus or minus percentage X is equal to the total. Okay? So that's what they're doing. X plus or minus percentage X is equal to the total. So it drops down to 60, and then you drop 60,000, and I'll show you that. The Walmart equation is something that I came up with a long time ago. I didn't come up with it. We all use it. When you go into a store and you only got $5 and you try to figure out how much you can buy with $5, you take the tax and multiply it, and then you add it to the price to see how much the price of the item is worth. That's called the Walmart equation. It's X plus or minus percentage X is equal to the total. Now, what is plus? Plus is taxes or tips. Minus is called what? Discounts. So if you have a discount, you would use a minus. If you have a tip or a tax, it would be a plus. So what did they do? Well, here's the Walmart equation. 100, and then you had a drop of what? 40% of 100,000, which is equal to 60,000. So the stock dropped from 100,000 to what? 60,000. And then the question says to find the percent of increase necessary to return the value back. You plug in the Walmart equation again. But you want to come back, so that means that it has to go back what? Up. Up is plus. So X plus percentage X is equal to the total. And that's what they're doing. So I got to do 60,000 is what we're starting with, because 60,000 is what it dropped to, plus percentage times 60,000, and I want to get back to 100,000. Okay, solve it, because you're basically going to put in an X for the percent. Okay, just put in the X and solve it. So we're going to minus 60,000. Minus 60,000. And that's going to give us 4. 4,000 or 40,000? 40,000. 40,000 equals 60,000x, and divide by 60,000. You're going to get 4 divided by 6, which is 2 over 3, which is 0.67. So you're going to have a 67% increase or return. So x is equal to 67%. Or x is equal to, or the percentage is 67%. Is what you should get. Or what you're going to strive for to get back to where you started. Okay? Another good question, just a Walmart equation, so you might want to write that down, the Walmart equation. (66 2/3% is 67%, last time I checked. Zero, those are called intercepts. Zero function is called the x-intercepts. I don't like using that word. It's called the x-intercepts. Write that down because that's what everybody calls them. X-intercept. Okay, this is just a play on words. All right. The only thing I'm concerned with, A is okay, C is okay. The solution to the equation, well, D is the same thing as C. So D and C, this is just, I'm going to show you how to find the x-intercepts. Remember, I showed you in the review. If you want to find the y-intercept, what do? You plug in 0 for what? Intercept, you plug in 0 for y. That's right, class. If you want to find the x-intercept, you plug in 0 for what? 0, I'm sorry, pass backwards. Y-intercept, 0 for x. I did it pass backwards. That's x-intercept. X-intercept, plug in 0 for y. Y-intercept, plug in 0 for x. Sorry. Okay? So, your y-intercept, if you want to find the x-intercept, does it say anything about y-intercept? No. All you care about is this guy right here, the x-intercept. Because that's what you're going to be looking for later on. In calculus, in the latter part of this class, x-intercept. So plug in 0 for what? For y. Plug in 0 for y. Okay? So do that. Plug in 0 for y and solve. And that's your x-intercept. Find your y-intercept, plug in 0 for x. And you get what? 56? So negative 56 is your y-intercept. Your x-intercept is going to be 0 is equal to 14x minus 56 plus 56 is equal to 14x. Dang old 4?
Yeah.
So 4 is your x-intercept. Now what does f of 4 mean? That's the same thing as going back to pre-algebra and saying x is equal to what? 4, so you have to find what? Y. 4 times, they're telling you to find the y-intercept. Anyway, 4 times, oh, no they're not, 0, isn't it? 4 times, yeah, the y-intercept. 4 right here. 4 times 14 is what? 56 minus 56 is what? 0. Okay? Oh, that's the x-intercept. They're asking you to find the same thing over and over and over. Okay? It's not really, that's not a good test question. It's a good question to do in class, but I'm not going to do the 0 because the 0 is the same thing as the x-intercept, and A is the same thing as the x-intercept, and the solution. So what they're trying to tell you is if they ask for any of that stuff, they're asking for the same thing. The solution, the x-intercept, or F of 4. That's all of them are the same thing. Okay?
Message coming in on secured channel.
You'll see a lot of that in the future, especially in the oncoming future. I'm not going to go through all of that. Here they're telling you how to find, that we already went through that, second trace to find the intersection point. All right, try that one. They want you to solve it. Now, I don't care how you solve it. I'm going to clear the fractions first. I'm not going to solve no fraction. So multiply both sides by 12. And then also you can graph it, but I ain't gonna graph, I'm not gonna graph that. I'm gonna graph something a whole lot easier to graph. So multiply both sides by 12. So I'm gonna multiply this one by 12 over 1, and this one by 12 over 1, and that's gonna give me 3 times what? Well, 4 will have to be 2x minus 3 is equal to 12. That'll be 4x plus what? 12? Yes. And now I'm going to be 6x minus 9 is equal to 4x plus 12. And if you wanted to x-intercept, you plug in 0 for what? Well, you can't plug in 0 for y because you don't have a y. So we're going to just keep going. I have no idea what they're talking about. So we're going to, here's your smallest bucket. So you always use the smallest bucket. 4x goes over, becomes negative 4x. So 2x minus 9 is equal to 12. 9 goes across the river, becomes a positive 9. 2x is equal to 21. X is equal to what? 21 halves. So that means x is equal to 21 halves. So I don't know what they're asking using the x-intercept method. I know how to solve for x, and that's how I solve for x. Comprende? Sometimes it's best not to read the directions because they don't know how to write directions. Okay, they want you to write the whole equation equal to 0. Yeah, you could do that. And you get the same answer. So knock yourself out. Again, they're using the second trace function. You can do that. That's not a big deal. Describes the mean time y served in prison for a crime as a function of the mean sentence length, where x and y are each measured in months. To find the sentence for a crime that would give an expected time served for 10 years, write an equation and solve it by using, well, first of all, this one's written in terms of what? X and Y are measured in what? Months. So 10 years is going to be 120 what? Months. So write that down. That's the first thing you have to do if you see one of these in your homework. If you see something written in months and then they give you years, you got to turn the years into months. So that'll be 120 months. Mark that out and put 120 months. Write an equation and solve it by using A, the x-intercept method, and B, the intersection method. Y is equal to this. Describes the mean and function of the mean sentence length where x and y are each measured in months to find the sentence per crime. Looks like to me y is equal to 120 months. I think that's what they're asking you to do. Yep, 120. Plug in 120 for y. That's what I thought they were doing. And find the intercept. Just do it on your calculator or do it manually. I mean, do it algebraically. I don't care which way you do it. Because you're going into calculus, you're going to be using your calculator a whole lot more. So however you want to do it is okay with me. If you can't do it, just put it down as a failure in life. What's Thursday? Meet to have meetings to have meetings. So, when you set them equal to each other, or you graph both the lines, y is equal to 120 and y is equal to 0.55x, you should see them intersect at 223. So, if a prisoner receives a sentence of 223 months. That's what, 22 years? No, what is that? What is 23 years? Yeah. Then it would expect to serve 10 years. That's safe. If I was to commit a crime, they would shoot me. I don't understand this. I don't understand how. 18 and a half years.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I guarantee you, if I did something that bad, they'd be like, 10 years, buddy, you staying the whole time. Go out and cut somebody up with a machete, and they'll let you out in 6 months. Don't even get me. I guess that's why Peppermint is such a good movie to some people. Because, well, she don't ask them questions. She just, you killed my daughter, bang. And then she strings them up on a Ferris wheel. She's awesome. The formula for the future value of an investment of P dollars at simple interest is A is equal to P times 1 plus RT. Solve the formula for R, the interest rate. What's the first step? Well, you got a block of cement right there, 1 plus RT. You can't do anything with a block of concrete unless you bust it up. So how do you bust it up in math? You use the distributive law, Hubert. That's right, class. So A is equal to distribute P plus PRT. Now I'm going to subtract the P. A minus P is equal to PRT. And then divide by PT and divide by PT. So R is equal to A minus P divided by PT.
Message coming. Priority 1 message coming in on secured channel.
So make sure you can do this Algebra 1 solving equations, okay? because that's what we're doing. We're doing Algebra 1, solving equations. If you can't do it, that means you pretty much suck at life and should quit. There you go. A minus P over PT is equal to R. And should live in a van down by the river. Solve the equation. These are all good test questions. Both of these are good test questions. Somebody's pulling up my phone. Oh yeah, these people that love meetings, oh my God. It's like they sit at their desk and say, okay, when can we have a meeting? And then we need to email everybody about the meeting. And we need to text everybody about the meeting. And then when they text back, we need to reply with 3 or 4 more texts. So, what's the first thing you're going to do? Multiply both sides by the common what? Denominator, because you don't need to work with fractions. Fractions are like taking your whole family on vacation, and instead of picking the first floor, you pick the 15th floor to live on. Why would you do that? If you have a family, what are you carrying? You're carrying all kinds of junk for the kids. And you're the pack horse, okay? If you got your choice to stay on the first floor or the 15th floor, you can shoot all the college and all the teenage years out and say, I want the first freaking floor. Why? Because you're the pack mule. You got to take all the, what do you call them things, crib or the play crib or whatever. You got to take that. You got to take the toys. You got to take the video games. You got to take the TV to hook the video games up to. You got to take all this stuff. Okay? So you pick the first floor. Always, when you're given an equation, you always put everything on the first floor. Always. So I'm going to multiply through by 3. And that's going to give me 3 times 2 is what? 6 times 2x minus b is equal to 5cx. Now, that's much better to work with. And I'm going to even distribute 12x minus 6b is equal to 5cx. At this point right here, I'm ready to look at my directions and see what I'm solving for. Because what I did is basically choose between the 15th floor or the first floor, and now I've on the first floor, and now I'm ready to open the door and go into the room. Okay? So, what do? Well, we got to solve for x. Well, I got to get both x's on the same what? Side. 12x minus 5cx is equal to, and I'm going to bring that 6b, it doesn't have an x in it, so I'm going to bring the 6b across the river. Positive. And then x factored out. And then x divided by that big block, 6b over 12 minus 5c. I got one text about a meeting, and how many times did my phone went off? What? 6b over 12 minus 5c. Solve the equation 2x minus 3y is equal to 12 for y so that it is expressed function. Then graph the equation with a standard view in a window. I'm not going to do that. Just write it down and solve. You just move the 2x over and divide by -3. What they're getting you to do, we're going to get to solving systems of equations. That's what they're leading up to. That is what they're doing. So I'm not going to spend much time on that one. Well, there it goes right there. And now divide by -3. Okay, we're going on. We've already covered the most important part here. Let me go to the next slide. And I realize what time it is, so you don't have to go into the zipper fetish mode, okay? Leave the zippers alone for those people that like to play with zippers. 2.2. And let's look and see what it is. Probably a continuation of what we're doing. Fitting lines data. No, it's totally different. But anyway, not too different. What is correlation? Correlation and causality. That's probably what we're going into. And least squares, regression. No, basically just plotting points. Yeah. Yeah, plotting points. Any point you can get the slope, and I'm looking to see what's important. Okay, I'm not going to go over this too much because I've shown you how to, and I will show you how to do it on a calculator. Let's just go ahead and do that. Okay. I want you to take the following points, and I want you to put it in your calculator. Okay, I'm going to go to the Excel spreadsheet. Go to the Excel spreadsheet, and I'm just going to type in several numbers, X's and Y's. The X's I'm going to do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 15, 21, and 26. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say 3, 7, 9, I'm just making up numbers, 11, 13, 17, 20, 29, and 27. Okay, punch those numbers in a calculator. The X's are on the left, your Y's are on the right. Now they should not be in a line. I hope they're not. I hope there's a tendency line or a correlation line, but not. So I'll look and see right quick. Highlight, dang old insert. Dang old, we'll put a line on it. There we go. No, I don't want to put a line on it. There we go. Now, what happens when you don't have a good line? Well, you have to basically put a line in there that's a best what? A best fit. Write that down. Best fit. And you use the squares of least regression. You use that. It's called a distance formula. It fits the best line in there. And you don't even do it by hand anymore. With the calculators, it's real simple. With the Excel spreadsheets, it's real simple. And basically, you project or create a line of best fit. Now, with an Excel spreadsheet, all you have to do is right-click on one of the points. Go down to Add Trend Line, and then go down to Display Equation. And there is my equation. So those of you that know how to use Excel spreadsheet, write that down what I just said. Right click on a point, on one of those blue dots, right click on it, add trend line, and then view equation or show equation. So there's my slope of my line. My line is positive, so that's going left to right up. It's 1.0675, and there's my y-intercept. You can actually put the y-intercept in there also. Right click, go down to add trend line. We've done that. And go down and put set intercept. And that changes the line a little bit. I don't use it. And correlation factor, you can set the correlation as R. So that means 0 to 1. Is there a correlation? Yes. What is correlation? Y'all settle down. Not everybody answer at once. Oh, come on. I know there's somebody in the room that invented the word. There's always somebody. Nobody's going to talk to me. Correlation is a pattern indicated. Write that down. Pattern indicated. In this case, it would be a slope. All right. Is there a positive slope? Yes. Is there a negative slope? Usually correlation and slope have to do with each other. A horizontal line. See what I got on my mind? Line. Dang old. Shut up here. Anyway, a horizontal line has a slope of what? 0. So what's the correlation factor of a horizontal line? 0. A correlation has either a positive 1, 0 to positive 1. A negative correlation has a 0 to negative 1, meaning slope, negative. Okay? What is causality? Does anybody ever watch the Matrix movies? Y'all just stay under a rock or what? Causality. I drink too much wine. I have to pee. God almighty, it's like me teaching to a bunch of 1920 students. Okay, y'all have never seen the Matrix movies. Never seen them. What do y'all watch? What do y'all watch? YouTube? Is that what y'all watch all the time? Anyway, in the second Matrix movie, they go into the restaurant, and the guy is speaking French. He's got a French accent, and he goes, I drink too much wine, I have to pee. It's causation. It's correlation. Cause and effect. Like talking to a brick wall. Okay. Y'all just all suck. That's what it is. It's your parents' fault. That's what it is. All right. Causality does not mean, correlation does not give you causality. Okay, write that down. Correlation does not mean causality. If I go over to the Amstar 14 theater and they're playing a Nicolas Cage movie, and I go, okay, I want to pull the tickets. I want you to give me the numbers for the Nicolas Cage movie since it started Monday. And they give me the numbers, and I graph them, and it shows this. It shows an increasing slope at 45 degrees. Then I go to the Anderson County Hospital. Oh, I'm sorry, AMMED. I go to AMMED, and I ask for the suicide rates since Monday, and it shows an increased line at 45 degrees. Does that mean that the Nicolas Cage movies is causing people to commit suicide? No. Is there correlation? Yes. Is there causality? No. What about if I survey everybody in this room, and Oconee, and Easley, and Pendleton, and I write down the weight of your car, your vehicle, and your gas mileage? Would I see correlation? Would there be causality? Yes, the heavier your car, the worse gas mileage you're going to get. There is causality there. I drink too much wine, I have to pee. If something causes something, that's called causality. But correlation does not mean causality. Okay? Make sure you write that down. Correlation does not equal causality. Just because I have a positive correlation here, that does not mean that this caused this. It just means that there's a correlation. And that's where you have to actually start thinking about the causality. The causality is not calculatable. Causality is thinking. All right? Now, if you're in the calculator, you have to go to calculate. After you plug in the numbers, go to calculate, and then I think it's called y is equal to mx. What does it say in the calculator? Somebody tell me that knows. It's about the third or fourth one down. Linear regression, I think. What? Lin reg. And you should get the same thing I get. Did y'all get the same thing? Yes or no? You should get y is equal, or m is equal to 1.0675. B is equal to 2.2247. Did y'all get that? Yes, Hubert. One yes out of 14 or 15 people. Okay, thank you. One person. Squeaky door don't get no grease in this class. Squeaky door just keeps squeaking. I got a mumble and a whisper. That's it. All right. It's time to go because some of y'all are going to spontaneously combust if we don't stop in the next couple of minutes. All right, we're on 2.2, so that means 2.3 is coming. What else does that mean? Unit 1 test is coming, so some of y'all that ain't doing homework better get on it. Y'all have a good day, and I'll see y'all Thursday. Just leave Oconee and Ainsley, leave the cameras running, leave everything on because there's a class coming in behind you, okay? And Pendleton, leave yours on. Yes, Hubert. Thank you, Pendleton. Appreciate it.
Ask him on the test.